So beautiful boxing fans, I just woke up to some shocking news. Jermell Charlo, the former undisputed 154-pound champion of the world. The man just came out after being in hiding for what? Nearly 2 years. And the man just called out his best friend, his former teammate, his brother, fellow champion, or former champion, Errol Spence. The man just came out and said this. He said, fight date coming soon, no friends in the industry, and he posted a picture of him, a lion, eating a shark, which is Errol Spence. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Listen, ladies and gentlemen. Both men are way past their prime, physically and, most importantly, mentally. Charlo doesn't have it in him anymore. And listen, in my opinion, one of the biggest robberies I have ever seen in the past decade, since I've been watching boxing, was Charlo versus Castaño 1. Charlo versus Castaño 1, you cannot convince me that Brian Castaño didn't destroy Jermell Charlo in that first fight. I mean, he punched him from corner to corner, from pillar to post. And in my opinion, I had it 9 rounds to 3 for Castaño. But this is what's crazy. The judging for that night was atrocious. There was one round, I believe the 10th or 11th, where Charlo hurt Castaño but didn't drop him. They scored that round 10-8 for Charlo. So, I mean, let's be honest. In my opinion, Charlo lost 2 of his last 3 fights. And Spence lost his last fight versus Crawford. Now, there is absolutely no shame in losing to the great and legendary and iconic and pound for pound all-time great Terence Crawford. But if both men, I'm going to tell you a scenario if both of them fought in their prime, and I'm going to tell you a scenario if they fight now. If both men fought in their prime, I think that Errol Spence would have knocked out and annihilated and walked through and ran over Jermell Charlo. Even Jermell Charlo, when they were in their prime, he used to always insinuate that, oh my God, sparring Errol Spence is a nightmare. Oh my God, I would never fight Errol Spence. And back then, Spence used to say, listen, if I come to 54, love Charlo, he's my brother, my best friend, but, let's make some money together. Spence has always been confident when you talk about him facing off against Charlo. But Charlo, both Charlos are very interesting characters, The older Charlo, Jermell is overrated, worst resume in boxing history probably. Worst resume I have ever seen in my time. The man fights absolutely nobodies and all he cares about is his undefeated record. And he fights once every 3 years. Jermell, he works harder. He's less talented. But the man in his prime, when can we say Jermell was in his prime? Wasn't the Castaño fights. Castaño and Harrison fights. Castaño and Harrison fights, Jermell was on fire. And in his prime, he was a monster. Even though he doesn't have a high knockout percentage, but the man can be lethal at times. But stylistically, Jermell can be, and this is the X factor in this fight. I hope it happens actually. Just imagine football stadium in Texas, Spence versus Charlo. My goodness, what a crazy fight it would be. But do I believe that it will happen? I don't know. Both of them, they have been talking about a comeback for 2 years. But stylistically, the X factor in this fight is that it is very easy to back up Jermell Charlo. It is very easy to back the man up and put the pressure on him and break him. Canelo did it. Castaño did it. And Castaño, where is Castaño? After the man gave Charlo the 2 toughest fights of his career, the man disappeared. And I blame PBC and Al Heyman. We have seen this throughout history. When a fighter comes to PBC and puts on an unbelievable show or goes to war, sacrifices a massive chunk of himself, and then just disappears, they shelf him. So, in my opinion, the better fight would be Castaño versus Spence. And Castaño beat Spence in the amateurs and he dropped Spence twice. So listen, as far as I'm concerned, now of course it won't be as big as Charlo versus Spence, especially in Texas. But getting back, let's get back to the fight. I had to throw Brian Castaño in there because I believe that the man, he beat Errol in the amateurs and he beat Charlo in the pros, and he should have been undisputed. Amateurs don't really mean much, but what means more is him beating Charlo for undisputed and getting robbed. Nonetheless, how would this fight play out now? Well, so many questions are unanswered when you talk about Errol Spence, when you talk about Charlo. Now, who's fresher? Charlo is definitely fresher. Also, based on his style, you know, Errol Spence's style, the man is a monster back in his prime. But when you look at all the pressure, high guard, violent, in the pocket fighters, their careers don't last long. And even someone like Errol Spence, who is an absolute specimen, I mean, the man in his weigh-in versus Crawford, the man looked like the Iron Man. The man looked unbelievable. Even though Jermell Charlo's nickname is the Iron Man, but let me tell you, when you watch Errol Spence in the weigh-ins, the man looks like Iron Man. And the man, I believe, in his prime, would have absolutely annihilated Jermell Charlo. But now, he's not in his prime. And now it's a different fight. Does Errol Spence have a chin left? Can Errol Spence actually take a punch? Can Errol Spence see clearly from both eyes? How is Errol Spence feeling right now? What is he thinking? How is his mindset? On the other hand, what's going on with Charlo? You fight Canelo, you ran for your life, but you got the biggest payday of your life. Respect. But he fought like a coward. Actually, Charlo was my favorite fighter, or one of my favorite fighters a few years ago. But after that Canelo fight, I mean, listen, one thing I can promise you, Crawford is smaller than Charlo, right? But one thing I do promise you, ladies and gentlemen, Crawford will not be running in this fight. Wait and see. Crawford will do many things, but one thing he won't do is run. He never ran and he never will. But Charlo, he proved that he wasn't a lion in that Canelo fight. He proved that he was a cub. And especially, he's been saying that he would knock out Canelo for years. And the moment you finally face up to the man, you run for your life. So, in all actuality, Errol Spence, in my opinion, skill for skill, prime for prime, would run through Charlo. But, right now, who knows what's going to happen? Please let me know. Who do you think would win this fight? Because I have no clue. I would favor, probably, I don't know, maybe Charlo. If Errol is completely finished, I mean, let's be honest, guys. The damage that Errol took in the Crawford fight wasn't just normal damage, it was life-altering, it was career-ending, life-altering. It was a career ender. And after that night, I didn't think that I was ever going to see Errol Spence again. But now, the man looks like he's ready to come back. The man looks in shape. The man looks like he got his swag back, or he got his mojo back. And he wants to have a fight. But for Charlo to call him out, he's calling out a wounded lion, a wounded animal, a wounded shark. But a wounded shark is still a shark. But is he though? Is he? Does he have the same bite? Does he have the same toughness? Can he take the same punishment? Is he willing to go through the fire? Is he willing to go through the depth of the depth of the depths of the ocean? We don't know. But we can also ask the same questions when you talk about Jermell Charlo. And that is why the only way to find out the truth is inside the squared circle.